I'm the Executive Director with the Texas Commission on Law Enforcement, and at the table with me, I've got our CFO, Brian Roth. Since the conclusion of the 88th legislature, TCOL has made significant progress in implementing our Sunset Bill, Senate Bill 1445. In fact, we have completed 13 of the 17 actions adopted by the legislature, and by the end of this year, we'll have completed all of those, the remaining 4. The exceptional items in your packet represent a continuation of our progress, as well as the opportunity to refocus with input from our commissioners how we approach some of our core missions that we're responsible for as it relates to law enforcement across the state. We're grateful to the legislature for your investment and your support of the agency in the last 2 sessions and for the items that were included in the introduced Senate Bill 1. I'd like to highlight a couple of the items of importance that remain. One of our top priorities, of course, is minimum standards and accountability in law enforcement, and there's 2 items under that umbrella. Item 1A was to provide a cadre of professionals to oversee academies as well as our continuing education providers across the state, as well as some of those are nationwide. If you look at our exceptional items, that item 1A would establish somewhat of a new division so that we can oversee more effectively the training side of the house, one of the very traditional roles of TCOL. We have had a few instances where we found out after the fact that substandard training had been delivered, causing harm for everybody involved, not just the cadets, but the agencies that hired them, as well as the communities that they were supposed to have gone and served. That would allow for that separate branch of the agency dedicated by people that specialize in training for that kind of educational oversight, which is, again, one of our core missions. Item 1B, with RAPBAC, the system where we can now easily see when someone is not qualified or is not eligible for licensure. We have had quite a few instances of where we find that someone who is currently working, we realize even if it's been for a matter of years that they've been working, that they're not eligible because of prior arrest or prior convictions, and that's obviously something that we need to solve that problem, and those positions under item 1B would help us to identify those, find trends, find patterns, so that we can work with our agency leaders out across the state to prevent that from happening, from those people becoming licensed and getting into the law enforcement workforce. The next 3 items that I'll talk about, they address salary competitiveness and staff retention. Because of TCOL's unique responsibility in law enforcement and as it relates to other law enforcement agencies across the state, we've got to be able to recruit and retain the best of the best. We are obviously responsible for the regulation of law enforcement agencies, law enforcement officers across the state. And so when we go to recruit, it is a specific type of person that we're looking for in our sworn officers as well as our civilian staff. And so item 2A is for our peace officers to bring them up to a level where they are consistent with their Schedule C peers and other state law enforcement agencies. Again, we are looking for people that meet a very high standard, that have a long a long history of experience, either in the training side or in the agency standard side, as well as accountability that is unique to our mission set. Item 2B is similar to that, is for our civilian staff. Everyone that comes to work for the Texas Commission on Law Enforcement, whether you're sworn or civilian, they go through the same background investigation process. So we need to make sure that we're able to recruit those high-quality individuals, whether they work in IT, whether they answer phones for us, whatever they do, we need to be competitive in the Austin market or whether they work in other parts of the state. Item 2C, the third part of this request, is added at the direction of our commissioners for the executive director salary to be increased to address pay compression. As we have more people come up, we want to be able to make sure that we're not compressed in our salaries. And then the final item that I'd like to highlight is our strategic operation improvement. Again, it's very directly related to our responsibilities that were placed upon TCOL from the last session. Item 3A is for additional legal support to handle the increasingly complex administrative cases coming out of our sunset responsibilities. The more work that we're doing towards implementing sunset, and as we go down the road, We're going to have more cases go before the State Office of Administrative Hearings, and so we now handle those in-house with our own attorneys and our own legal staff, and we need to expand that capability. Item 3C, I'll touch on. We've already begun to receive many of the model policies that were required under Sunset. We're getting those in now. That's going to exponentially increase as we begin to take on, if you'll recall from the Sunset provisions, when an officer leaves an agency, the agency is required to send us their personnel file within 30 days. And that is a great deal of confidential, personally identifiable information that we're going to be taking in-house. And TCO's never had a traditional records division, if you will, and so we have to create that. Again, we appreciate all of the funding for IT and for us to build the infrastructure to protect that, but we also have to have the human element to be sure to manage that voluminous information that we're bringing in. We want to be able to share that when appropriate so that we're transparent when we deal with open records requests, but we also need to protect the confidential information as that's required. And very importantly, we need to be able to facilitate the exchange of information between law enforcement agencies when they're hiring officers moving from agency to agency. I hope that you will find that all of our requests are directly in line with the mission that the legislature has set before us. I think it's been an exciting time for me to come aboard the Texas Commission on Law Enforcement. I just finished my first anniversary here in January. I look forward to the great work that we're going to continue to do. Appreciate your time today. Again, this concludes my prepared remarks, and I'm eager to answer any questions that you've got for me.
Senator Nichols.
Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Yeah, you're back.
Thank you.
Number of law enforcement people that we have in the state of Texas versus the amount of need for law enforcement people. You know, when you add up all the cities and the counties, all the state agencies, and then we threw the factor of schools and law enforcement in the schools, we know we've got a big shortage. Do you have any idea, and I literally mean that, do y'all have any idea of how many open spots we have and how many commissioned officers or trained officers we have and what that shortfall is?
It would be hard, sir, Senator, to give an exact number, but I can tell you I don't know of many agencies, and there are a few, but I don't know of very many that would be able to come in and tell you that they're fully staffed. There's vacancies across the state. Again, we want to be involved. We're working with the associations, the Chiefs Association, Sheriff Association, with all of the associations that are out there to try to help with recruiting and retention.
So the answer is you don't know.
I don't think there's any way to know that definitively without taking a poll of every agency, but there are significant vacancies,
There
yes, sir.
should be a way to approximate. I refer to approximation. You can approximate how many students there are. You can approximate that ratio of campuses and stuff. You can approximate how many cities we got. Anyway, I asked a question. You don't know. So that's okay. We have shortages in other areas too. Shortages of nurses and so on. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right. That's all the questions we have. Thank you very much for the job you do. You're doing a great job. We appreciate you being here.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
See, when you don't get a lot of questions, that means you're doing a great job. Not really. I mean, it could go either way. But anyway, you are doing a great job. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Okay, members, that's all the agency presentations that we have. So we're now going to open public testimony on what we've heard today. For those testifying, I will remind you, you have 2 minutes. You can look at the little timer. When it turns yellow, you have about 30 seconds left, so start wrapping up. I'm going to call 4 names, 2 here, 2 there. We'll try to keep it moving because it's been a long day for everyone, including you. Thank you for being patient and waiting all day. Rose Luna, Executive Director of TASA. Kathy Henson, Executive Director of the Family Crisis Center. Molly Voiles, Director of Public Policy for Texas Council on Family Violence. And Michael Lofton,